Well, I don't know what he's up to. He's picking me like chicken, shucking me like corn, stewing me like an oyster. I mean...
Can I ask you something?
Honey, come on. The man's trying to get some rest.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, ask away.
I just got to know the Kennedy assassination. Did Oswald act alone?
Hey, that's for me to know, and Oliver's...
I like your hair in the middle with the silver hair. How old are you? 75. Get the fuck out of here. Who killed JFK? I'm not going to read all those pages. Who do you think killed him? You think the government killed him? Ooh. Move in.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed."
Yo, it's your boy, the Tesla King, Elon Musk. The boys always make my rocket shoot straight up, no homo. You bout to listen to the #1 JFK-related podcast on planet Mars. Now plug in your neural link for two numbnuts who aren't a waste of government spending, the BBB and JOEB.
Here's the BBB&JOEB, JOEB, and the BBB, baby, BBB&JOEB, rock, cock, and Joe Morelli. BBB&JOEB, JOEB, and the BBB, baby, BBB&JOEB, rock, cock, and Joe Morelli. We're coming in, only seeking the truth about JFK. It's a long-coming podcast crew. Tell 'em, Joe, here we go.
Welcome, everyone. Here we go. I guess I got to say it this week because Joe's not here. And here we go. Welcome in. This is episode number 341 of the Lone Gunman podcast. Before we get started here, I just wanted to show off my sweet new hat that I just got from my buddy Doug. Isn't that cool? It's a very limited edition Dallas Action podcast hat. It is nice, man. I like it. Of course, I make it look good, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm kidding. I'm sure it would look equally as good on Joe's giant head. All right. So, folks, we're going to get into some stuff here tonight. I got, so I was trying to think of a catchy title for tonight, but I couldn't convey what I wanted to convey. I was thinking of informants, and I'm sure most of you are old enough to remember the old song by Snow called Informa, but Lick Your Boom Boom Down was what I wanted to call this, but I didn't think many people would get the reference. So Friday limited hangout it is. Yep. Rolling Han Solo tonight. Just me and the kitty cat. Let's see here. Let's take a peek in the old chat and see who is all up in here, because apparently it is bubbling. It started bubbling a half an hour ago. So let's welcome in Sally from across the pond. Hello, Sally. Be talking some things that I don't understand, otherwise known as Irish. Mysteries with Mr. Belgique. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mysteries with Mr. Belgique. He is from Belgium. Haha. First time we've seen you here, so welcome in, sir. Hell comes to play. What's up, Lee? Lee is up in the house. The Bloody Benders. Tiny. Yep, that's right, everybody. Smash the like button. Even though I haven't gave you enough to like yet, but you know I will. I'm good for it. Trust me. Just hit the damn button. Let's see here. Zendar 61. Howdy, sir. Zendar up in the house. Let's see. Timothy Ryan. Hello, my good peoples. Let's see. We keep on going. It's going to be a long scroll, folks. I told you the chat was on fire. And one of my favorite usernames to welcome in, Bobby Thundernuts. Good evening, sir. I love your name. I take great joy in just saying it out loud. Bobby Thundernuts. That is epic. I love it. Welcome in, sir. Let's see. Scott Edwards is up in the house. What's up, Scott? Hello, Scott. What happened to Luna? Nothing. She probably would have been a much better intro graphics than what I had to use today. I was so disappointed when I went to make the thumbnail for here. The program that I use online, the website was down all morning, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this art together somehow. And it was just 504 in me. Gateway not found. Gateway not found. Gateway not found for hours. So I had to search the interwebs and find another somewhat suitable art compilation website, if you will. And, you know, I like to do specific things with the cover art. One is, you know, have a properly sized background of the color of my choosing. And then I like to be able to remove the background from certain pictures so that when I add the art to the thumbnail, you know, you don't have a bunch of weird looking stuff in behind it. You know, just it's nice and clean looking. And then, of course, I need to be able to add things from my computer and not just use clip art or, you know, predetermined pictures and all this noise. And then I also need the ability to add text, add different kinds of font, and then resize everything. And you know, I got this one program that works great, and I love it, and I've been using it forever. And the damn website was down today, so we get a ghetto ass thumbnail today. So sorry for that. But yeah, Scott, I agree. Luna would have been much better than that shitty thumbnail I threw up there. Mr. JSV 650. He's in with the popcorn and cola. Or is that a alcoholic beverage? Whatever it is, enjoy, sir. Greg, still in Switzerland. The hills are alive. I can just see Greg and his little lederhosen spinning circles around with his lovely wife in the hills of the Switzerland, the Swiss Alps. Oh, look who's here. Welcome in, Joe Borelli. He just wanted to say what up to everyone. He's on vacation with Ruby. Triple B was nice enough to give me tonight off. Would rather be Poden instead of going out to dinner, but you know, girlfriend. It's okay, Joe. You gotta give her a little something every once in a while, you know, or else you hear a lot of this. So hopefully Eric is not listening right at this moment, and Joe has like an AirPod in his ear or something. Let's see. I know there's more of you here, but you're not in the chat, and that's okay too. We love lurkers here. Even if you never say nothing, you know, just pop in and say hi every once in a while so we know you're here. James Smith is up in the house. What is up, James? Trey, you damn right. It's triple B time. Triple B time. And I'm not unnecessarily padding my time by going through. Normally we do this. It's just the comment section is full tonight, which is not a Bad problem. Jack, welcome in. What is up, my friend? Our resident rocket queen, Colleen, is up in the house. Hello, Colleen. How are you, dear? Von Duke. Yo, what's up, Von Duke? Welcome in. Welcome in. Damn, I don't think I'll ever get to the bottom of this comment section. I love it. I love it. I love it. Paul, PSV Odyssey is up in the house. What's up, Paul? Paula Jane. She'll be riding from Birmingham to Wales in June. Riding. What are you going to... Oh, maybe a boat. Or a plane. Or maybe a horse. Although I hope your horse can swim very long distances. It's a long way over here, across the Atlantic. Paul, I'm just giving you a hard time. Sounds like a fantabulous vacation coming up for you. All right, Colleen, you got to stop. You're going to make me fall in love with your 3-foot Millennium Falcon on your ceiling fan. Oh, Lord. Lordy. Anthony Thripp, greetings from Melbourne here. There's our carpet man. Randall Brooks up in the house. Back again. I'm glad you're here, sir. Back for more. Let's see. I think I'm almost to the end. Bear with me. Oh, goddamn. Joe done gifted 5 membership levels. Who gets them? Let's see. Harvey Runnels. You're welcome. Dean Walker. You're welcome. Dave Zagrino. You're welcome. The Apex. You're welcome. And Owen Smith. You're welcome. Wow. That is quite the philanthropic thing to do there, Joe. That's my co-host. He is currently on special assignment. Provawan. Well, hello from Ireland. We got another Irish in the house. Wow. Now, so you folks know, with that gifted Spook membership, okay, of course, that gives you, special, what are they called? Little icons or whatever. It also gives your name a highlight. And it's also going to get you. We also do a show on Wednesday nights for our members, but it's only for covert operators and higher. That's the second level of membership for the channel. But with the first level, which is Spooks, that gets you in the door. And on the last Wednesday of the month, we give that episode to all of our members, including Spooks. So we just did one last night for everybody. So I think with the Spook membership, you can go back and check out all the last Wednesday shows from the months. And then you'll have to wait another month to get the free Wednesday show because we just did it last night. But, and if you'd like to become a channel member or upgrade, like, let's see, Sally and Mike just rejoined recently. There is a link in the description to this video down below. So we make it kind of easy for you. Glenn Rock's up in here. Shabird One. Hello, madame. David Arbuckle. What's up, fatty? Love the podcast. Love you, Mr. Arbuckle. Frequent commenter to the show, and I wasn't calling you fatty. I was just in my brain connecting fatty and Arbuckle. Let's see. Jolene. Yes, okay. Welcome, Jolene. Goodness gracious. Joe, you need to take the night off more often, bro. I think we might have more viewers than ever before. I'm joking. I'm joking, of course. But what I am going to do is pop this chat, if I can. right up here beside me, so I can keep an eye on you fools, kind of, and kind of see what's going on. Hopefully, if this works. Yeah, okay, there it's moving a little bit. At least until I start having to show some pictures. This way I don't feel like I'm all by myself here. Like my co-host is you tonight, folks, in the chat. You're always good for it. So without further, I feel like I've been blathering and killing time for 15 minutes, which I have been, but I haven't really. I've just been welcoming everybody in. So I feel the love. So thanks for showing up and hanging out in the Friday Limited Hangout. So without further adieu, that is French. I don't know any Belgium-ish or Irish or Welsh or British. Well, I guess British is the same as English, probably. So is Australian. What's up, Anthony? All right, let's get right into it. So the first things I want to talk about is we're going to out some informants. Okay? We're going to just out them. We're just going to say what they said, who they are, where they are, what they're doing. We're just going to out them because informants are dirty rats and they need to be outed. So the first thing I wanted to get across here, kind of. Well, thank you, Mysteries with Mr. Belgium. I'm doing a really great show. Thank you. Well, just wait. It's barely started. It gets better, I promise. So the first thing I wanted to get into is an HSCA document that I found. Let's see. It's an FBI document from June of 1978. And it says, former special agent in charge Warren DeBreeze, now retired, interviewed on June the 8th, 1978 by New Orleans assistant special agent in charge Theodore Ted Gardner. After being advised of HSCA contention that he identified Horace Pena of Argonne Boulevard, New Orleans, as a bureau informant, DeBreeze stated that he had told HSCA counsel Robert Gensman, when asked by Gensman, that Pena was an informant. Now, there's a little note on here that says, on June 9th, 1978, G. Robert Blakey, HSCA, was advised that no informant file exists on Pena. This response to Blakey was coordinated with Special Agent Danny Colson, unit of the legal division of the FBI. Now, in many, many interviews, well, I wouldn't say many, but some interviews and to some legitimate legal authority, Warren DeBreeze never admitted that he ran Lee Oswald as an informant or Horace Pena. But Horace Pena was very open in his allegations against DeBreeze and his being an informant, and because he was a little pissed that DeBreeze threatened to beat his ass if he didn't shut up. So, yeah, there's that. I thought I saw some blue fly through here. I did. Thank you, John. Thank you for the super chat. Stay strong, loose moose. Snitches get stitches. That's right. We're outing these bastards. Outing them. I see Trey still has his Japanese keyboard. Oh, God bless you. Or is that Arabic? I don't know. Who the hell knows anymore? Let's see. All right. So then, what is this? I don't know. I'm just going to start reading it. Both Sheriff Decker and Holman pointed out that anyone who would have been confined in the hospital section on the 5th floor of the jail at the time of the assassination would have been a mental case, and the reliability of such a person would be highly questionable. Holman noted that it would be most difficult and a time-consuming task at this late of a date to attempt to determine just who was confined on the 5th floor in the hospital ward of the county jail at the time of the assassination. Furthermore, Holman pointed out that such persons, if identified, have since either been released or sent to other state mental places for incarceration. Now, what this is alluding to is that actually in Dealey Plaza, there were several people in jail who claimed that out their windows that they saw certain things. It's kind of an interesting, footnote to the whole Dealey Plaza story. And they're basically saying, look, you can't take what these people say. They're mental cases, right? They didn't see any puff of smoke at the grassy knoll. That's crazy talk. We all know that Lee Oswald was on the 6th floor of the depository shooting the rifle, don't we? No need to run these people down and try to figure out who they were and what they said. Not worth the time, folks. Right. Holman and Chief Identification Officer James Kitching advised that a Faye Leon Blunt. I don't know if that's a man or a woman. I mean, you got a woman's first name and a man's middle name. Faye Leon Blunt. I'm going to guess it's a guy. Just for shits and giggles. A complainant in this matter. So this Faye Leon Blunt is one of these people that said they saw something from the 5th floor window. Is well known to them as a person who is completely unreliable, who has been arrested on several occasions in the past on lunacy charges. Not just mental problems, but lunacy. They're a lunatic. That's like one step above unstable. Both stated that they would place no confidence whatsoever in any information furnished by him. Okay, well, there's our identifier, our gender identifier. Him. So Faye is a man. Kitching pulled Blunt's arrest record and noted that Blunt was not incarcerated in the Dallas County Jail at the time of the assassination. Oh, well, isn't that convenient? How a little whiteout will do. Joking. Who knows? Who knows? Faye might really be batshit crazy. It's possible. Yeah. But here's where the part gets juicy. It says, then page 20 of the report is included, which is part of the index. Document 124-10035-10022 is supposed to be a 797-page report, 3 pages of which are here. There's kind of a cover sheet with a hell of a lot of notations on it. The title of the case is interesting. Lee Harvey Oswald, a.k.a. L.H. Oswald, a.k.a. Lee Oswald, a.k.a. Lee H. Oswald, a.k.a. Leslie Oswald, a.k.a. A. Heidel, a.k.a. A.J. Heidel, a.k.a. Alec J. Heidel, a.k.a. Alec James Heidel, a.k.a. O.H. Lee. I think that's all of them. I think we've covered all of them, except for maybe Lee Henry and Lee Harvey, or Lee Harold. Sorry. Cover page B does identify some informants. So here we go. Buckle in. Along with Harry Holmes, who we know was a Dallas Tier 1 informant. Of course, he was the head of the postal inspector there in Dallas. We have Dorothy Reeder, who was an info clerk at the U.S. Post Office in Fort Worth, Texas. So that would be Harry Holmes's Fort Worth compadre, equal. And then I always wondered who the one in New Orleans was. Who's the New Orleans Harry Holmes? Well, I'll tell you. His name was Joseph J. Zarza. Zarza with 2 Z's, like pizza, but Zarza. Yeah. Cammy Faye, Leon Blunt. Let's smoke up. Let's see. New Orleans T2 was a banker named Salvador Vargas. New Orleans T3 was a guy by the name of Dick LeBlanc of North Claiborne Parkway. New Orleans T4, Salvador Margin of Mandeville. He was a utility carrier or a postal carrier, the branch post office in Napoleon and Carondelet Streets. So he was a mailman. He was walking around. New Orleans T5. You ready for this one, folks? I know you've heard this name before. New Orleans T5. Carlos Quiroga of 3134 Derby Place. New Orleans T6. Germano Messina, 1228 Gallier Street. And he worked at the New Orleans Unemployment Division. So, Carlos Quiroga, officially, in black and white, on an FBI document. New Orleans 5 FBI informant. Gotcha, bitch. Gotcha, bitch. Whew. Next up, we got a good one. And this lady's name fits her to a T. Betty Parrot. Betty Parrot. Now, we talked about Betty before in relationship when we were talking, I think when we did the Bill Dalzell episode. Big Man, Little Horse. Can't remember the number right offhand, but that's what it was called. And of course, this all comes from the Garrison investigation. And a lot of these memos that I'm going to read you here are from the Garrison deal with Andrew Mumu Shiambra providing a lot of this information. So what's interesting here of this interview with Betty Parrott on March 31st, 1967, is he says, okay, I interviewed Betty Parrott and learned from her that she had an extremely close relationship with Bill Dalzell. It seems like Bill Dalzell lived at her home for a certain period of time. During the time that Bill Dalzell lived in her home, she said that he was involved with a group known as the Friends of Democratic Cuba. Excuse me. Now, for those of you who don't know, real quick, Bill Dalzell did a radio show for the Friends of Democratic Cuba. This was also the group that members included Sergio Arcacha Smith, Grady Durham, Bill Craig himself, Bill Klein, an attorney, Guy Bannister, and a guy by the name of Regis Kennedy. No relationship to John Kennedy, but Regis Kennedy was a member of the New Orleans office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. Yeah. And Jack Martin had some interesting things to say about Mr. Regis Kennedy as well. But what Parrott has to say about Regis Kennedy, she said that many times Regis Kennedy would come over to the house and talk to Dalzell concerning the operation. Now, again, sorry, I digress again, but Bill Dalzell is a commonly thought of CIA contact. Okay, everybody thinks that he had something to do with the CIA. She also said that many times Regis Kennedy came to the office in the Balter building to talk to Dalzell. And in turn, Dalzell and other members of the group visited Regis Kennedy at his office. She said that Regis Kennedy confirmed to her the fact that Clay Shaw is a former CIA agent who did some work for the CIA in Italy over a 5-year span. Now, again, this interview is in the beginning of April 1967. Long before we had any official confirmation and documentation that Clay Shaw had been a contact employee of the Central Intelligence Agency. And here in 1967, she said that Regis Kennedy confirmed to her, this is FBI guy Regis Kennedy, confirmed to her the fact that Clay Shaw is a former CIA agent who did some work for the CIA in Italy over a 5-year span. This is accurate information, folks. This is what informants need to actually inform on. We'll get there. Keep staying on topic, Mr. Arbuckle. She said this group later moved from their office in the Balter building and moved into an office at the International Trade Mart and operated under the name of the Voice of Cuba or the Friends of Democratic Cuba. So apparently the Balter building, this is where 544 Camp Street was. Bannister's office, the office of the CRC, the Cuban Revolutionary Council. So very tight. You got all these folks rubbing elbows all around the same area. She said that she does not know whether or not Clay Shaw had any connection with this group, and that she does not remember hearing Clay Shaw named mentioned with this group. She said that Bill Dalzell could tell us everything about the group and about the connection with Regis Kennedy and the CIA. She said for some reason she has heard Bill Dalzell's name mentioned quite often since the investigation started. She said that approximately 2 weeks ago, Dalzell made a trip into New Orleans and spoke to Steve Plotkin, whom she had heard had skipped town. I don't know who that is. Steve Plotkin. I don't know. Let's see. So we have a second interview with Betty Parrot. And this one occurs about roughly 8 months after the one we just read. And it's from Moo again. I talked with Betty Parrot in reference to her knowledge concerning the Friends of Democratic Cuba. And they're talking about Joseph Moore. She said Joseph Moore was an honorably discharged Marine a few months after World War II. Late 20s, honey blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'8", weighed 150 to 160. She said he came into town the same week. Bill Dalzell formed the Friends of Democratic Cuba and opened the office in the Balter building. And blah, 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 blah. Betty Parrot said that Guy Bannister had files on all the people around the office at the time, that Logan was a CIA man assigned to Arcacha and the Friends of Democratic Cuba, and his counterpart from the FBI was Regis Kennedy. Shocker. She said that Logan was good friends with Grady Durham and that both of them belonged to the chess club around the Maritime building. She said all members of the group were screened by the FBI and the CIA. She said she knew of no car that Moore had. She also said that we should check into the waiters who worked in the Court of Two Sisters during the summer of 1963. Now, this is interesting, and we'll get more into that a little later with the Court of the Two Sisters, because, again, this is what turns out to be legitimate information when we go back and look at the interview with Leander Diavy, who was a waiter at the Court of the Two Sisters in the summer of 1963. And he had some very, very interesting things to say that I've done a show about many, many moons ago. And don't ask me to recall the number or name. I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, and she said that the Marcello brothers had something to do with the court, and that she heard, well, yeah, they owned it. Turns out the Marcellos owned the Court of the Two Sisters. It was ran by a guy named Gene Davis, who was eventually relieved of his duties at the court because of all this scandal. She also said that right after this period, Gene Davis began living with a young boy who he was in love with, and took out a big insurance policy on him, and the boy got killed, and Gene collected on it. What? He also said, or Betty Parrott also said that she heard that Davis was involved in blackmail from queers, that the blackmailing information came from Regis Kennedy and some New York agents. Betty Parrott said we should talk to a tall, black-haired waiter around 6'3", 185, who's gay and who's either working at the court or just recently left in regards to the story about Oswald staying there. And she's referring to Leander Diaby. She also says that Bannister was around mostly with Grady Durham, Jack Martin, and Bill Dalzell. So she is feeding all kinds of information to the office of the district attorney. And looking back now, we know a lot of this is accurate. Now, Eugene Davis, the guy that was running the Court of the Two Sisters, is the same guy who Dean Andrews, old Dino, outed publicly in court as being Clay Bertrand. And Garrison charged him with perjury because he wouldn't identify him as Clay Shaw. So all this shit just goes full circle. Craziness. Betty Parrott also said that Ed Butler, the guy that, interviewed Oswald and Bernier, did know a lot about the Friends of Democratic Cuba, as he was always with Guy Bannister and Jack Martin. He was responsible for the dismissal of Dalzell and the eventual formation of Inca. She says that she does not know who got the Bannister files, but she heard of Jack Martin trying to sell some of them, which is interesting. So if Ed Butler, she says Ed Butler was always with Guy Bannister and Jack Martin. So if this whole thing with Oswald in New Orleans was a Bannister operation, if you will, where they were trying to out commies, and then create files on all these communists and red lovers, pinko commie bastards, and all of this, around New Orleans. That all kind of makes sense what she's saying. So, BP, Betty Parrott. Betty Parrott. She did, Cammie. She was in all the right places. Honey trapping all the New Orleans, even the homosexuals. So, let's see. This is another interview with Betty Parrott. Golly day. Okay. And this is from April 1st of 67. So we're going back in time a little bit from the last one. Now, what's interesting about this one, it jumped off the page at me and smacked me right in the face. I was like, what? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, this just supports. Well, let me just tell you like this. Okay. So in the book Reasonable Doubt by Henry Hurt, of which I just got a copy in the mail. And if you haven't been watching, the copy that I got was actually JFK Jr.'s copy. It was autographed directly to JFK Jr. Apparently he was friends with Henry Hurt. Said that he loved hanging out with him and Daryl, who had just finished up shooting Splash, the mermaid movie from the 80s. It's when the mid 80s. It's when the book came out. So apparently he knew JFK Jr. when he was dating Daryl Hannah or married to her or whatever they had going on. And he had autographed his copy of his book to JFK Jr. And I bought it off of Amazon for $19. I wanted a physical copy because it's a great book, first of all. And secondly, it has that chapter in there. All right. about a fellow with the last name of Easterling, okay, who tells a story about a street fracas that occurred outside of Oris Pena's bar. Excuse me. And this would have been earlier, much earlier than the one that happened on August the 9th on Canal Street. What was interesting about that supported his claim, okay, was the fact that Lee Oswald wrote a letter to the Fair Play for Cuba Committee on August the 1st, which was 8 days before the supposed street fracas on Canal Street went down, in which he describes a street fracas, okay, that the police were called, yada, 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 and he calls them, gusanos, which is the worms. But of course, the fracas on Canal Street hadn't happened yet when he wrote this letter to V.T. Lee of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. But what it does is create a scenario of maybe him trying to do something to impress V.T. Lee, who was the president of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, to get him to officially sanction his New Orleans chapter as legitimate. So he's writing him and letting him know. Now, the next time he did write him, a little later in August, he actually supplied V.T. Lee with a copy of his arrest report to prove, that he was what he was doing in New Orleans. The August 1st letter doesn't have that. And, nobody's ever heard of this Easterling guy, like, who the hell was he? So if you read this chapter in Henry Hurd's book about this guy, he's not really anybody too terribly important. He was just apparently a guy that was in the right places at the right times to see certain things. He was, he operated kind of on the wrong side of the law, and he happened to hang out at this bar, and he happened to see what happened with Lee Oswald. He got in a fight with some Cuban exiles, and apparently they got kicked out of the bar, spilled out on the street. They beat Oswald's ass. The cops show up and tell everybody to leave. Nobody got arrested. Wasn't caught on film. Nothing. And the guy who related this story to Henry Hurt was the guy with the last name Easterling, right? Not to be confused with Jake Easterling of the CIA of JFK. Different people here. But so I'm reading this interview with Betty Parrot again, and this is what jumped off the page and slapped me in the face. It seems that Bill Dalzell lived in her home for a certain period of time. During the time that Bill lived in her home, she said that he was involved with a group known as the Friends of Cuba. This group had its office in the Balter building. Members of the group included Sergio Arcacha Smith, Bill Craig, Bill Dalzell, Grady Durham, Kai Bannister, Ed Butler, and an individual named Logan, who was also a member of the CIA, Bill Klein, an attorney, Regis Kennedy, a member of the FBI, an individual named Hoffman, and an individual named Easterling. Right there in black and white. Underlined. You can't make this shit up, folks. Betty Parrott's informant game, very good. So it seems to me like whatever she's saying, she's got some good info. She's got some good info. Yeah. Very cool, James. Yeah, I had the PDF version of the book for a very long time. I wanted an actual copy to actually go on the old bookshelf. And I didn't even know it was autographed. All it said was very good condition, collectible, $19. Sold. And then when it got here, I opened it up and I was like, damn, I got JFK Jr.'s copy. He never cracked it, but that's okay. You know, I did. I cracked it. All right, continuing with the theme of the show. June 21st, 1967. This is an FBI document to J. Edgar Hoover and Dallas from New Orleans. New Orleans files reveal Gene Davis, a.k.a. Eugene Davis, a.k.a. the guy Dean Andrews said was Clay Shaw, folks, is identical with Eugene Claire Davis, who is NO 1189-C, an active symbol number informant of the New Orleans office, Bureau File 1377386, New Orleans File 137-1435, a PCI, Potential Criminal Informant file on Davis was opened on April 28, 1960, and he was designated a symbol number informant on October 11, 1961. So there you have it, folks. Eugene Davis. Paid FBI informant, Mr. Clay Shaw, according to Dean Andrews. Running the court of the two sisters for the Marcellos. And whose waiters have some very fantastic tales about a gay Lee Harvey Oswald. And if you'd like to read those details, just look up the HSCA interview of Leander Davy. That's D''AVY. Leander Davy. Juicy stuff. That's right, Trey. There it is. Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, it's down there close to Louisiana, right across the border. I don't know. It's all very suspect. Yeah, Easterling was a typical rough, seedy character. Yeah, it's crazy. You got all this stuff overlapping, running around. We got informants confirming information. I mean, it's just crazy. Crazy talk. All right, this next one, actually the next two. The Campbell brothers, Dan and Al. We're going to talk about Al first. Okay. Al Campbell. And of course, this comes from Mumu Shiambra again. Today, I interviewed Al Campbell, who told me that he worked for Bannister around 58 and 59, and then again around 62 to 63. He said he did everything for Bannister, which ranged from investigator to undercover work, trying to get information on communist groups in the city. Okay, so here you have somebody telling you exactly what's going on in the Bannister office. He said that Bannister liked him and gave him the keys to his files. However, he said there were some files that only Bannister had access to. He said that Celia Pizzo knew Bannister very well and may be able to give us more information. He said that he never saw Shaw with Oswald or Ferry or Bannister, for that matter. He said Joanne Burton was a secretary for Bannister in 62 and may be able to give us some information about the files. Note that he didn't say that he didn't say that he didn't see Oswald or Ferry with Bannister. He said he never saw Shaw with Oswald or Ferry or Bannister, which is interesting. He says that he remembers a Tiger Jim Ivey, whose name came up in connection with the Friends of Democratic Cuba, and Bob Grant as two people These are two more people who were working undercover with Bannister. He says that he remembers these two individuals because they were bad actors and capable of doing anything Bannister asked them to do. He said that both have New Orleans police records and both are ex-Marines. So it seems that Bannister liked to use former Marines in his undercover operations. Just saying. Campbell said that Bannister worked closely with Ray Huff and the CIA and had a lot to do with the overthrow of President Arbenz of Guatemala. Campbell said that Bannister worked closely with both the CIA and the FBI. Campbell said that in September of 1959, he helped train the Guatemalan airborne for President Fuentes in Guatemala. Campbell said that Tiger Jim Ivey was an ex-boxer who worked as a barker at the El Morocco bar on Bourbon Street. Campbell said that he was with Kerry Thornley and Carl Bach in the Bourbon House on the night of the assassination. He said that Kerry Thornley told him in the presence of Bach that Thornley had known Oswald in New Orleans. Thornley said that he disagreed with the newspaper reports about Oswald in New Orleans and stated that Oswald was in New Orleans more times than the paper stated. Thornley told him at the time that he had wrote a book about Oswald, and Oswald either saw him or stayed with him while he was in New Orleans. Thornley also told Campbell and Bach while looking at television reports of the assassination that, quote, it could not have happened to a nicer guy, referring to Kennedy. Bach then got angry at Thornley and told him to shut the fuck up. Campbell also said that he knew Ferry from the Lakefront Airport. He said that he's never seen Ferry with Shaw. He said that when Ferry's picture appeared in the paper in regard to our investigation, Ferry had told him in confidence, quote, I'm a dead man. And he didn't elaborate. Campbell said that when he and his brother Dan were in the Bethlehem Orphans Home and were there at the same time that Oswald was there around 1945-46. So the Campbell brothers were in the Bethlehem Orphan House at the same time as Oswald. So they knew the guy. They freaking knew who he was. Campbell says that he remembers seeing John Meadows somewhere around the quarter, possibly with Thornley. He also said there was a CIA man who worked closely with Bannister by the name of Jim. This person also worked as an announcer for WNOE. NOE. Can't remember who that is. Interesting. Campbell said that he also knows Gordon Novell, and he's the one that actually introduced Novell to his wife, Marlene Mancuso of Mancuso's Restaurant, right beside Guy Bannister's detective agency in the Balter building. Campbell also kept asking if we ever talk with Al Boboff. He seems to believe that Boboff can help us. He also asked if there is a possibility that we may have Shaw and Bannister mixed up. I told him we would check out some of the information that he gave us and contact him again, and he said he would be glad to help. Campbell admitted that he seemed to have come into contact with many of these people whose names have come up in our investigation. He said that he would try to think of anything that would be of some benefit to us. He can be reached at Flight Incorporated at the Lakefront Airport. Yeah. We're getting in there. What's up, Mike? Welcome in. You're late, sir. You're late. That's okay. Yeah, wow. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on here, Lee. We're not done yet. Because now we move on to Al's brother, Dan Campbell. So this doesn't just come from one guy, one rando that's been around Bannister's office. He also had a brother named Dan. And of course, Moo interviewed him. He says, I interviewed Dan Campbell, who's currently living at 309 Leeway Drive in Baton Rouge. That's the Red Stick, Louisiana. Blah, blah, blah. Telephone number. Campbell informed me that he did work at the Lakefront Airport for a while, but did not work out there until after Ferry's death. He told me that he would get the name of a policeman on the New Orleans police force who told me that Ferry and Oswald were together at the Lakefront Airport. He said that this policeman seemed to defend Ferry quite a bit. He also told me that we should talk to Samuel Williams, who was on the New Orleans police force and who was in the Marine Corps with Lee Harvey Oswald at LTA in Santa Monica, California. Campbell stated that he worked at Cosimo's bar, and we've talked about Cosimo's before, as a bartender, and Clay Shaw used to come in just about every afternoon for a drink or two. He said Shaw always sat with the same group of people who were all homosexuals. He said that Bill Steele owned the bar and was a member of the Shaw clique. He said that this was during the spring and summer of 1963. Campbell said that Oswald's face looks familiar, but he can't place it. Campbell said he worked for Bannister in the summer of 63 as an investigator. He said that Delphine Roberts was Bannister's secretary and was closest to Bannister. He said that he remembers being in Bannister's office one day when Delphine came in and told him that there was a communist giving out literature on the corner of Canal and Camp. He said that he took a walk down there, but when he got there, everybody was gone. Campbell said that he was involved in anti-Castro activity in the summer of 63. Pay attention, folks. He said that he and Al Perrin, Perrin's wife Rosemarie, and Ralph Latapy, who has a brother on the New Orleans police force, had a boat named the Mariner, which they were using in conjunction with their anti-Castro activities. Campbell said that Perrin owned the boat and that they were, and it's faded out here, which is a shame. So we'll just slide on to the next page. Campbell said that the supplies were being inventoried, or no, being supplied. The supplies were being supplied by the CIA and actually had the United States government stenciled on the boxes. Campbell says he does not know Shaw and did not know Ferry at the time. He was working for Bannister. He would later come to know him, though. Campbell said that Akasha told them that the Mardi Gras Corporation would furnish guns and supplies for them to take to Cuba. Campbell said they kept their boat at the Fort Pike Canal. Campbell said that he was never at the training camp across the lake personally, but knew of its existence. He said that Al Perrin could tell us where the training camp was. He also said that Ed Thorpe, who hangs out at the annex, used to go to the training camp across the lake. He said that Thorpe was a gun nut and had the Liberty Gun Sales store in Covington, Louisiana. He said that Thorpe had been a Green Beret in the Army. Now here's where it gets interesting, folks. Campbell said that while working for Bannister in connection with the National States Rights Party, and this is, part of the thing that, it's like the Super Clan, right? That Miltier and all them were a part of the National States Rights Party. He met a man who introduced himself as James Earl Ray. He later found out that this person's real name was Ray Learhart, who used to drive the Magazine Street bus for public service. He said that he introduced this man to Derek and Mona Fryer, who were associated with the Blue Shirts of Louisiana. So, wait, what? Could you imagine if James Earl Ray used to drive Oswald to work on the Magazine Street bus when he was working at Riley Coffee Company? How fucking ironic would that be? I'm sorry, my mind is getting blown over here. Wow. Campbell said that all this happened to him after he got out of the Marine Corps in September of 61 after 3 years of service. So Campbell, Dan, is a former Marine as well. Campbell said that while he was working at Cosimo's, he saw Dean Andrews, who would come into the place occasionally. He said that the person who talked to Shaw more than anyone else there was a man named Captain Bob. Hi there, I'm Captain Bob. Hey, Clay. How you doing, sir? You looking good tonight, Mr. Clay? He said that Bill Boone and Ed were also a part of the Shaw group. Campbell said that he cannot place Shaw with either Ferry or Oswald. Campbell also said that Oswald studied at the latter library and the library in the John Hancock building. He said that he checked out books from both places. So we just did a show not too long ago about Oswald's public library goings on. So how the hell would he know that Oswald's checking books out of the library and reading them if he didn't actually know? I mean, that's something pretty damn specific to say, right? It's not like everybody back then went to the library. Especially if you're in that kind of, underworld milieu, if you will. He also said that Benai Barith worked closely with Bannister and they exchanged information. Now, I don't know if that's some kind of religious or Jewish organization or what that is. Benai Barith. He says that Bannister was a fanatic on communism and had files on everybody. Everybody, folks. Everybody. Oh, Scott, you're killing me. Oh, Captain Bob hung out on the poop deck. Oh boy. Easy, James. I'm good. Thank you, Roger. Thank you. Oh boy. I love it. A Jewish charity. Okay, Benai Barith. That's what I was looking for. He said that on the day that Delphine Roberts came into the office and said, "Those communists are on Canal Street giving out leaflets," Bannister was talking to Jack Martin. He said that Bannister just looked at Delphine and laughed. He said that he thought that this was peculiar in light of Bannister's hatred for communists. He said that Bannister never told him to check it out, but he went and checked it out on his own. Interesting. That's the Campbell brothers, folks, who seem to be talking a lot at the time of the Garrison investigation. Let's see. What is this? I know I got this for a reason. Okay. This is a report from John Voles, March 1st, 1967. Pardon me. I had occasion to interview a Mr. Charles Noto, Mr. Charles Noto, an ex-levee board police officer. He told me that he remembers arresting a Lee Harvey Oswald in October or November of 1962. Note the dates here, folks. Yes, Oswald was back in the States at this time. Was he in New Orleans at this time? Allegedly, no. Officially, no. But possibly, sure. Now, this is a police officer, a levee board police officer. He told me he remembers arresting Lee Harvey Oswald in October or November of 1962 on Breakwater Road. Quote, it was called the Point on the lakefront in New Orleans. He made the arrest after noticing Oswald and another white male whom he identifies as Celso Hernandez from our photographs together in a white panel truck at a late hour. Now, for those of you who don't know who Celso Hernandez is, we'll get there. I promise. Let's just know that fast forward from this time of the arrest, another less than a year, he would be arrested with Lee Harvey Oswald on Canal Street with Carlos Bernier and Miguel Cruz for creating a fracas in the street in New Orleans for fighting Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly. But now we have Oswald getting arrested with this motherfucker in 1962. So let's continue. Apparently they were arrested together in a white panel truck at a late hour with Hernandez driving. He recalls the truck belonged to an electronics firm, but he cannot recall the name. At the time of the arrest, Oswald became very belligerent and went into a spiel about Gestapo tactics. Sounds legit already. And identified himself as being with the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. He demanded to see the officer in charge. I mean, this sounds like some shit that Oswald would say, right? Both Oswald and Hernandez were brought to the Levee Board Police Headquarters on the lakefront, whereafter a closed-door session with Marcel Champon, the officer in charge, Champon, then told Noto to release both men with no charges. Hernandez had previously told the officers that he was employed by an electronics firm on Broad Street and that the truck, a Chevy or Dodge, had belonged to them. Noto further recalled in October or November 62 that Noto, helped immigration officers surround a house in Lakeview on Spanish Fort Boulevard. He can point out the house. Noto said that according to federal agents, they were looking for Cuban refugees, and he thinks that the agents told him that ferry was supposed to fly them to Cuba. The only person in the house, turns out, was a Spanish woman. Also present at this time were Patrolman Albert Mancuso, nice last name, and Superintendent Joseph Cronin. Now, for those of you very skeptical to just believe that one Charles Noto, a lowly levee board police officer, why should we believe this one guy? This is just a story, right? Well, also present in the station at the time that Oswald and Hernandez were brought in were Patrolman Albert Mancuso again, Jack Gleber, and David Lousteau. Eldred Mackey was Noto's partner who participated in the arrest as well. All of these men are available for interview. So this ain't just one man saying all this crazy shit. We have a police officer stating something very specific, that Oswald and Celso Hernandez were arrested in a panel truck very late at night on a lakefront in New Orleans. Oswald became belligerent, went into a spiel about Gestapo tactics, and identified himself as being with the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. He demanded to see the officer in charge. They were both brought to the Levee Board Police Headquarters on the lakefront, where after a closed-door session with Marcel Champon, the officer in charge, told them to release both men with no charges. So what exactly did Celso and Oswald tell this guy? I mean, who knows what they were doing there? Were they doing anything illegal? I don't know. Were they S-ing each other's D's? I don't know. I mean, who knows? But the fact that they were arrested together less than a year before they were arrested again on Canal Street is a little sus that these guys actually knew each other, right? Like what the hell? Now, to supplement that, I'm going to read you a little bit of what Celso Hernandez said at the time of his arrest with Oswald. Hernandez stated that he came to the United States via Miami, Florida on October the 9th, 1962. So, he would have been in New Orleans at the time of this alleged arrest with Lee Oswald. He came to New Orleans. Oh, well, no, he claims he didn't come to New Orleans until January 8th, 1963. Isn't that something? He has not had any employment except for a few days of manual labor and is presently on relief or welfare. So this dude don't have a job, but he supposedly the truck that they were in was from an electronics firm that he supposedly worked at, but yet he's never had a job. So what in the hell were Oswald and him up to in an electronics truck sitting at the lakefront? I don't know. So this is his official statement to the New Orleans PD. Hernandez stated that he saw Oswald at approximately 1:30 p.m. on August the 9th passing out communist literature. And he went and got his friends at 107 Decatur Street. And at first they were unable to locate the subject, Oswald, when they got on the Canal Street streetcar. They rode to Jeff Davis Avenue, and not being able to locate Oswald, they returned to 107 Decatur Street. That is the Casa Roca retail clothing store ran by Carlos Bernier. They remained there until someone came in and told them where Oswald was exactly. And he doesn't say who told them. Now, mind you, they then proceeded to that location where the three of them were carrying the sign described in formation relative to Carlos Bernier in this memo. They then began to argue with Oswald, and a crowd gathered, and they were all four arrested by police. Hernandez stated that he had never seen or met Lee Harvey Oswald before this day. But if he was arrested with him less than a year before, then he knew who the hell this Oswald guy was. And we'll get into this sign that they're talking about here. Apparently, we've all heard that Oswald was wearing a Viva Fidel placard, right, around his neck. Some, ghetto, hand-painted wood sign or cardboard sign or whatever he had going on there. But apparently, Bernier had a sign too, and it was a big-ass sign that it took all three of them to carry in formation as they marched down the street. But we'll get to that in a second. What I wanted to point out here is I've talked about on the show the report that Agent Quigley of the FBI did about his interview with Lee Harvey Oswald that allegedly Oswald asked for. He's like, I want to talk to somebody from the FBI, and they sent Quigley in, right? And then he turned his report into Milton Koch, who was a special one of the special agents there in New Orleans, and that's who we get the Milton Koch report of late October from. That is in the Warren report. But before Oswald's interview with the FBI, the New Orleans Police Department interviewed him. In fact, they interviewed all four of these guys separately. But I had never actually seen the interview with Lee Harvey Oswald done by Sergeant Horace Austin and Patrolman Warren Roberts. And this was the interview of the 4 male subjects at the 1st District Police Station on Friday, August 9th, after their arrest from Canal Street. So this is the first time the New Orleans PD is talking to Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay? This is before he talks to the FBI. It's an interesting interview because there is a lot of mis or disinformation in here, whatever you want to call it. That's very interesting. So we'll start with this. One of the 4 subjects identified as Lee Harvey Oswald, a white male aged 23, residing at 4907 Magazine Street, had allegedly been distributing communist literature on Canal Street. And 3 Cubans, the 3 other arrested subjects, had become involved in an altercation with Oswald, which resulted in the arrest of the 4 subjects. Lee Harvey Oswald furnished the following information when interviewed. Here we go. He is a member of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which is the first thing out of his mouth, whose address is 799 Broadway, New York, New York, telephone, blah, blah, blah. Oswald had in his possession a national membership card issued on 5/28/63, and the president's name on this card was a V.T. Lee. Oswald also had a local membership card dated 6663, New Orleans chapter of the FPCC, and the president of the local chapter, whose name was on the card, was A. Heidel. Oswald presented his Social Security card, which did not bear his signature, and the number of this card was Oswald. Oh, they redacted that. Oswald presented his U.S. Marine Corps discharge card, in parentheses, honorable, bullshit, bearing service number 1653230 and a date of active duty from 24 October 56, 9/11/59. Oswald stated he was born in New Orleans on October 18, 1939, that he is about 5'9" tall, about 140 pounds, soaking wet, and is a mechanic by trade. A mechanic by trade. He stated he did mechanic work in the Marine Corps. That's a lie. He was a radar operator. So there's lie number 1, or misinformation number 1, whatever you want to call it. And that he is presently unemployed and has been so for about 3 weeks. Before he was, quote, laid off and not fired, Oswald stated that he had worked at the Louisiana Coffee Company. And actually, that's supposed to be the Louisiana. I guess that's what they call it. Huh. Louisiana Coffee Company, which is the same thing as Riley, for about 3 months. And before that, he had worked in Fort Worth, Texas at a sheet metal place. Now, it's interesting here that Oswald only gives mechanical previous jobs that he had. He left out quite a few that weren't mechanically inclined or related, like Jagger's Child Stovall. Let's see. Oswald stated he worked in Fort Worth at a sheet metal place. This would have been Leslie Welding for several months, but was very evasive in answering any further questions of employment prior to that time. Oswald stated that he lives with his wife, whose maiden name is Marina Pross. Lie number 2, or disinformation number 2. A white female, age 21. They were married in Fort Worth, Texas. Lie number 3. Have 1 child, age 17 months, and reside presently at 4907 Magazine Street, Lower Center of New Orleans. Oswald stated that he's got 2 brothers who reside, like his mother, in Fort Worth, Texas. He stated that his father, John Lee Oswald, that's a lie, His father's name was actually Robert Lee Oswald. His father, John Lee Oswald, is now deceased. Oswald's mother, you ready for this one? Margaret Oswald resides by herself in Fort Worth, Texas. Margaret, not Marguerite. Margaret. Oswald's brother, a Robert Oswald, white male, age 27, and a John Oswald, a white male, age 32. Now, his brother John's last name was Pike, P-I-C. His last name was never Oswald. They had a different father than Lee and Robert. Interesting. So that's lie number 4, I believe we're up to. Oswald stated he talked to Major Trosclair about getting a permit for the FPCC, and the major advised him to consult his attorney. Oswald said he never did go and see about a permit at City Hall. Oswald further stated that the Cubans that came up to him when he was giving out the leaflets and began to tear them up and throw them in the street. Oswald stated that they started to yell that he was a communist, and about the same time, the officers from the 1st District came up and a crowd gathered. Oswald stated that he joined the Fair Play for Cuba committee when he found a leaflet on the street one day and read what was on it, and he sent $5 to the address, which was in New York City. And after a brief period of time, he was sent material through the mail and contacted locally, and he started to attend the meetings, which he stated were held in each other's houses. Lie number 5. Oswald stated that the members get together and talk about how it would be to visit Cuba and life in Cuba, etc. Lie number 6. I know it's lies because there were no other members of the Fair Play for Cuba committee, allegedly, in New Orleans. At least overtly or officially. Oswald denied that the organization was communist or a communist front. When asked by Captain James Arnold, commanding officer of the 1st Police District, who came in during the interview, but Oswald had in his possession and was carrying a piece of cardboard with Viva la Fidel painted on it, and the paraphernalia he was handing out was pasted on this cardboard placard as well. Oswald stated that he's never been to Cuba, and it appeared as though he is being used by these people and is very uninformed and knows very little about this organization that he belongs to and its ultimate purpose or goal. Oswald stated that the people that attend these informal meetings are working class people such as clerical, tradesmen, etc. So right there, in a very brief interview with the New Orleans Police Department, you have a series of 5 or 6 lies, blatant misinformation. And he did the same thing with Quigley when he came in. He told him all kinds of wild shit. But these are not just simple mistakes. I mean, Oswald would know he didn't marry Marina in Fort Worth. He knows her name is not Marina Pross. He knows his mother's name is not Margaret. He knows his brother's name is not John Oswald. He knows his father's name is not John Lee Oswald. So, what in the hell? What in the hell? And again, you have this Celso Hernandez with Bernier that he supposedly got arrested with, and whoever this other jackass Miguel Cruz is. Let's see. I was trying to find the piece. Yeah, okay. All right, these dates are interesting, folks. So, I'm trying to see when Bernier. Let's see. It says his first job in New Orleans when he got there was with a California redwood produce company owned by a Mr. Levy. Bernier stated that he worked there for 2 whole days. Okay. Bernier then worked at Mac's Discount House, located at Canal Street, for about 1 year, beginning April 1st, 1961. So apparently Bernier first came to New Orleans in March of 1961. Bernier then became a self-employed peddler in April of 62 with his brother-in-law, Rolando. They bought clothing and radios wholesale and went aboard ships to sell them to sailors. Bernier stated that he had a port security card. Bernier then stated that on October the 1st, 1962, now this is close to the dates when Celso and Oswald were arrested together, he opened officially the Casa Roca clothing store at 107 Decatur Street, right beside Horace Pena's bar, the Habana Bar, right on the corner of Decatur and Canal Street, and has been working there until this date. Bernier stated that he keeps the sign that was in the Cuban's possession at the time of the arrest in his store. This sign measures 3 feet by 4 feet. So these 3 donkeys are carrying this gigantic sign down Canal Street to confront Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, on this sign, there is a picture of the Statue of Liberty, hand dagger and Cuba ringed by 2 links of the chain, and the sign reads, "Danger! Only 90 miles from USA. Cuba lies in chains." Bernier stated that the sign was given to him by Ernesto Rodriguez, who, by the way, was one of the first people that Lee Oswald contacted. Ernesto Rodriguez ran the Berlitz School of Languages in New York, and Oswald allegedly went there, and he wanted to know more about anti-Castro Cuban exiles in New Orleans and possibly helping to join the fight. Ernesto Rodriguez, whose brother was a CIA agent and present at the time of Oswald and the 3 Cubans' arrest on Canal Street, Ernesto sent him, Ernesto is the one that gave Oswald Carlos Bernier where to find him, because before all this Canal Street fracas nonsense, Oswald had went into Casa Roca and talked to Carlos and pretended that he was anti-Castro as well, and gave Carlos Bernier his Marine Corps hand training book and told him that he wanted to help train these exiles with guerrilla tactics. So again, you have all of this bank to bank to bank to bank to bank, all of these people all wrapped up in this crazy vortex in New Orleans, where seemingly you have all of this shit going on all at once. It's insanity, folks. Insanity. All right, let's see here. Let's take a little break so I can get my bearings straight. I need nicotine, and I need liquid here to coat my pipes before we continue. So let's take a little break and sell some hot sauce. And I, folks, will be right back after these messages. Big Bad Bob here with you for Silk City Hot Sauces. Why Silk City? Because this hot sauce comes to you directly from Paterson, New Jersey, also known as Silk City. These hot sauces are 100% natural, gluten-free, vegan, contain no chemicals, fillers, dyes, or junk. Everything is packed into recyclable glass containers because glass doesn't leach weird flavors into the product. All other hot sauces are sourced in small batches,
from locally bought fresh peppers. It's all about the pepper, people. Telling you. Your boy, Big Bad Bob, loves his food like he loves his women. Hot and spicy, but not so hot you can't eat them. So, if you love yourself some sauce and you're tired of trying to transform your bland meat into something edible, with the tip of a jar, you will transform your life forever. Head over to silkcityhotsauce.com, place an order, and upon checkout, enter the code GUNMAN, that's GUNMAN, for 20% off of your entire order. You won't regret it. Thank me later. Peace.
God damn it. I was on mute that whole time. This is what happens when you don't have anybody here in my ear to say, hey, Rob, you're muted. Yeah, I get it. I know. Here's what I said. I'll condense it into a nutshell for you. Go buy some hot sauce. There's a link in the description. And tell a Big Bad Bob sent you. Other than that, you have to be a very good lip reader to understand exactly what I did say. I know. I'm a donk. Thank you. Thank you, folks in the chat. All right. Oh, sorry. It's been a while since your boy went solo. Han Solo. Yeah, I know. You're killing me. I know. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Like Volta. All right, let's get back into some informers who will lick your boom boom down, as Snow used to say. Now we're moved to Dallas. And a fellow by the name of Charlie Hallmark. Now, we've touched on this a little bit in the past, but not the direction that we're going to take. We took it somewhere else, but now we're going to take it in a different direction. Okay, good. And you'll remember this because our man on the street, Alpha 66, did a fantastic video about where this place was in Dallas and the surrounding areas. So once again, thank you, Big Mike, for that. What I'm talking about here is the All Right parking garage that was at 1208 Commerce Street. Okay. This is allegedly where Jack Ruby used to park his car when he was on, I don't know. Oh, let me ask you a question, guys. Did you hear the Silk City commercial that I played? I did not have that on mute, did I? Was it just me after the commercial? I hope. I hope you heard the commercial. And I hope that wasn't muted. Let me know. Thank you, Mr. Ashley. Old days. Old days, son, where you couldn't see me. Now you can see me. All right, let's move on. Back to the all right parking garage. Sir, Captain Ganaway received information that the subject made a statement that Jack Ruby was in the all right parking garage on the afternoon of November 23rd, 1963. That Jack Ruby had made a telephone call there and had asked for Wes Wise at the KRLD TV station. Ruby was reportedly told that Wes Wise was not in and that Ruby had then talked to a person named Ken, last name unknown. Ruby was reported to have asked this person when Lee Harvey Oswald was to be transferred from the city jail to the county jail and had stated to this person, Ken, that he wanted to be there when the transfer was made. So that's a question that a lot of people ask. How did Jack Ruby know exactly when to be there at just the right time to be able to shoot Oswald? Well, apparently he started asking this question the day after the assassination on the 23rd. Because a lot of things was happening on the 23rd. They were interviewing, they were moving around, they were trying to figure things out. And of course, the transfer happened Sunday morning at about 10 or 11. I can't remember exactly when. But nobody actually knew when they were supposed to do this. I think they originally wanted to do it overnight, like in the dead of night, so nobody would know. But for some reason, the Dallas police and the sheriff's office wanted to placate the media because they wanted footage, any footage they could get of Oswald at every turn, whether it be from inside the station, outside the station, on the way to the station, on the way to a waiting transfer, jail car, whatever the case may be. The media demanded to have access to Oswald at all turns. So, for whatever reason, it was put off and delayed until the morning of Sunday, November 24th. But on the 23rd, we have Ruby asking, calling a radio station, or a TV station, that would know, to people that he knew that worked there, that would tell him when Oswald was going to be transferred. Now, a guy by the name of Ken Scott, who worked at the KRLD TV station, was interviewed, and he stated that he had never received a telephone call from Jack Ruby, and that he did not talk to Jack Ruby on November 23rd, 1963. Ken Smart, who works the city desk at the Dallas Times-Herald, was interviewed and stated that he had only talked to Jack Ruby one time in his life that he could remember, and this was several months prior to November 63. So this is the Dallas Police Department, Jack Revel, Criminal Intelligence Section, Special Services Bureau, trying to figure out who in the hell that Jack Ruby was calling. Ken who? And did Ken tell him? Obviously, somebody told him something because he knew the right time to be there. Now, Mr. Eddie Barker, who was the news director at KRLD TV station, was interviewed and stated that the above two people are the only ones with the name Ken that he knew, and if there were others, they would not be in a position to receive telephone calls or dispense any information regarding current events. Eddie Barker and Wes Wise both stated that Jack Ruby had appeared at the scene of the assassination on the afternoon of November 23rd, 1963. Wes Wise was at this location in one of the KRLD TV mobile news units, and Jack Ruby came to the side of the unit and engaged Wes Wise in conversation for more than a half an hour, discussing the assassination and Lee Harvey Oswald. This was around 1 in the afternoon on November 23rd. Now, for those of you who remember, Wes Wise was a future, at the time, mayor of Dallas. And he actually reported to have seen someone who resembled a lot like Lee Harvey Oswald in a red Ford Falcon after the Tippit murder, after Oswald was arrested. Right? And then this red Ford Falcon, he apparently wrote down the license plate, and the license plate ended up belonging to a Carl Mather, who was it one of J.D. Tippett's best friends? Who allegedly worked at some big electronics company that was big with electronic communications. I don't know. It's a very murky thing, but that's who Wes Wise is. I don't know who this is, but they don't have the name here, but it's an FBI document. It's CE 2013, dated 11/24/63. This is the day that Oswald shot. And it says, at 2:30 a.m., I received a telephone call at the office of the Dallas FBI. Okay, so this is a Dallas FBI guy. His name is Vernon Glossop. Vernon Glossop. At 2:30 in the morning. Okay. This is early morning hours of 11/24, the day Oswald would be shot. He says, I received a phone call at the office of the Dallas FBI from an unknown male who spoke in a calm voice and asked, I would like to talk to the man in charge, please. I told the caller that the special agent in charge was not present at that time and asked him if someone else could help him. And the caller said, wait a minute. And apparently turned the phone over to another man. I'm not certain there were two different voices, however, but the tone of the unknown caller's voice changed somewhat at this point. The voice at this point was calm and mature in sound, and this person stated as follows, quote, I represent a committee that is neither right nor left wing, and tonight, tomorrow morning, or tomorrow night, we are going to kill the man that killed the president. There will be no excitement, and we will kill him. We wanted to be sure and tell the FBI, the police department, and the sheriff's office, and who will be there, and that we will be there, and we will kill him. The unknown caller then hung up without any other statement and without identifying themselves in any manner. I immediately prepared a memorandum reflecting this information and furnished same to Special Agent Milton Newsom. I was present when Newsom furnished this information to the Dallas County Sheriff's Office at approximately 3 a.m. and then to the Dallas Police Department at 3:20 a.m. So apparently we have somebody calling the local Dallas FBI office and stating this. Then they told the sheriff and the DPD about this threat. Okay. At about 3:45 in the morning, okay, early morning, November 24th, same kind of time frame here, all right. Mr. Newsom of the Federal Bureau of Investigation called this office and stated his office had received an anonymous call stating that a group was going to kill Oswald that day, that night, or the following day. Caller stated that he did not want any officer hurt, and that was the reason for his call, but they were going to kill Oswald, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Subsequently, at 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m., I called Captain Fritz at home and related the substance of the threatening call. Captain Fritz told me Chief Curry was handling the transfer of Oswald and suggested I call him. So between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m., Deputy Cox or Coy, exact name unknown, of the Dallas Sheriff's Office, called this office and stated that Sheriff Decker had instructed him to call the DPD and request that Chief Curry call him about the transfer of Oswald. The deputy sheriff indicated Sheriff Decker wanted Oswald moved as soon as possible. As I recall, I had a second conversation with Captain Fritz regarding Decker wanting to move Oswald as soon as possible. Fritz stated that I should call Chief Curry. 6 a.m. I attempted to call Chief Curry at home. The telephone was busy, and after 15 minutes, I asked the operator to check the line for a conversation. She reported trouble on the line. By this time, it was approximately 6:15 a.m., and Captain Talbert relieved me, and I told Talbot of the threat of the deputy sheriffs and my attempt to contact Curry, and Talbot said that he would send a squad by the residence of Curry and have him call the office. My guess is that Chief Curry took the phone off the hook, as it had probably been a hell of a busy day, and his phone probably never stopped ringing. So he's like, all right, screw this. I'm taking this sumbitch off the hook. And kids out there, this is before we had cell phones, and you had to take the receiver of the telephone off the hook to make it stop ringing. And then there was information from Lonnie Hudkins. And I don't know what to make of all this, because Lonnie Hudkins put out some bullshit back in the day, along with some decent reporting, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of Lonnie Hudkins. He was a reporter in Houston, employed by the Houston Post. But he had made his way to Dallas, of course, after the president was shot, to cover it for his newspaper. Hudkins stated that he was not present at the DPD on November 24, 1963 when Lee Harvey Oswald was shot. He stated that he was in the police station on Friday evening of November 22nd and did observe attorney Tom Howard, now representing Ruby, and his law partner, Collie Sullivan, and attorney Benny Henderson on the third floor of the police station near the office of Captain Fritz, where Oswald was being interviewed. He stated that at approximately 11, Oswald was taken from Fritz's office to a police assembly room for a show-up, and near the show room, he saw Jack Ruby. He asked Ruby what he was doing there, and he recalls Ruby replied he was either writing for a Jewish paper or interpreting for someone who was writing for a Jewish paper. He advised to the best of his knowledge that Ruby had some sort of an ID card issued by Glenn Bird, now a county clerk who was formerly a justice of the peace. The card read, as he recalled, quote, "The bearer of this card is an honorary deputy of the justice of the peace." Mr. Hudkins stated that the third floor of the police station was full of newsmen and others, and he felt that there was very little chance of obtaining a story there, so his efforts were concentrated elsewhere. Now this, like I said, I don't know how much of Lonnie Hudkins' story we can trust, but we do know that Jack Ruby was in the police station Friday night on the 22nd, posing as a newsman, which is interesting. Basically, he had a card. The bearer is an honorary deputy of the justice of the peace. What the hell? I'm writing for a Yiddish newspaper, the Jewish Times. He advised that on November 24th, at the time Oswald was scheduled to be transferred from the police building to the county sheriff's office, that he was in the office of County Sheriff Bill Decker, as he anticipated if there were any trouble, it would be at the county jail. He states that the one thing occurred while he was at the county jail, which was significant to him. He states that Tom Howard, who was allegedly at the police department at the time the shooting occurred, arrived at the county sheriff's office for the purpose of obtaining a writ for the release of Ruby 2 minutes before Oswald was delivered to the hospital. So apparently, what he's alluding to here is that Ruby had enlisted lawyer Tom Howard to try to get Ruby released as quickly as possible. So, like, he knew, like, once I shoot this guy, they're going to arrest me, and you need to try to get me the hell out of here ASAP. So he knew what he was going to do. It wasn't a spur of the moment decision. He set everything up, and he enlisted the help of Tom Howard to get him out immediately. That's a big accusation. So like I said, Lonnie Hudkins, don't know how much we can believe here, but, it is what it is. He states that later that day, he asked Howard if Ruby had the gun with him on Friday night. He states, Howard advised that Ruby did have the gun on him at that time. According to Mr. Hudkins, well, that's the same paper. Hudkins was talking to the Houston Post in Houston and asked Mr. Howard to verify that statement directly to his paper, which Mr. Howard did. Mr. Hudkins stated that on Friday night, November 22nd, near the police assembly, while Oswald was being taken for the show-up, he talked to Chief Curry, who was worried about Oswald's security. He states that at that time, he observed many persons there who were not reporters or members of the media. Several of them were attorneys, and one he noted was a runner for a bondsman and is an ex-convict. He could not recall the runner's name. Mr. Hudkins advised that he has known Ruby for quite some time, as he was active as a judge at fights, and that Ruby usually appeared at the fights sitting in the front rows. He has seen him on many occasions at fights and at other gatherings, and he stated that it was common knowledge that Ruby was always armed. Mr. Hudkins and his staff are still actively running out leads, which he states are being called in to the Houston Post. He agreed to advise this office with any information he considers pertinent. Now, what's interesting there is within the past, I would say 5 or 10 years, there has been pictures at prize fights has been identified in, which is crazy. It's crazy to me. So that part of Lonnie Hudkins' story is true. So how much can we believe of Lonnie Hudkins' story? All of it? None of it? I don't know. But back to this mysterious Ken, who Jack Ruby was allegedly overheard calling at the All Right parking garage on Saturday the 23rd. Okay. Now, this information did not come out until December 16th, 1963, and this is an FBI report. Kenneth Doe of 1008 Beechwood, Dallas, Texas, furnished the following information. He is a radio announcer for radio station KLIF, Dallas, and works under the name Ken Doe. He has been in Dallas for about 6 weeks, and after the murder of Lee Oswald, he recalled that an individual who stopped by the radio station on a couple of occasions was a man named Jack Ruby. He also recalled that on November 23rd, 1963, he received 3 phone calls on the KLIF hotline, which is phone number RI79319. He stated on the first call, an individual requested to know if he had any information as to when Lee Harvey Oswald was going to be transferred. On the second call, the same individual inquired as to whether any of the KLIF newsmen were at the city hall. This individual then asked him if he knew who he was, and when he said he did not, the individual identified himself as Jack Ruby. On the third call, Ruby, who he now realized had made the first 2 calls, told him that he would call the radio station if he learned anything newsworthy, as he was going to personally go to the city hall. At best, he could recall these 3 calls were made between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. on November 23rd, 1963. He knows nothing concerning Ruby's background, personal life, or political convictions, and does not know why he shot Lee Harvey Oswald. He never heard of Oswald prior to Kennedy's assassination and knows of no connection between them. He stated that Chuck Dunaway was formerly an announcer for KLIF and now resides, blah, 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 and employed by Abnac Record Company in Dallas. So this is the Ken that apparently Jack Ruby called from the All Right parking garage to determine whether or not they had information as to when Lee Harvey Oswald would be transferred. So very interesting. So, yeah, I don't think it was a big coincidence that Jack Ruby just happened to show up at just the right time in the basement. You know, I think he was given information as to when the transfer would go down, at the very least. Anything more than that, you know, you're looking at some major collusion, you know, and to make that big leap of faith takes some serious evidence. You know, like, hey, don't bring him out until Jack Ruby's in place. But there was also rumors that Jack Ruby was posing as a TV camera equipment operator helper, you know, as they were bringing this equipment into the basement. But who knows? Because a lot of these cops knew who Jack Ruby was, and many of them frequented his club. So it's all very murky, but it would appear that Jack Ruby knew who to call, which was the media, TV stations, radio stations. They're the ones that are going to know when Oswald's being transferred because, you know, Chief Curry, Captain Fritz, Bill Decker, they were giving this information out to the media so that they could cover the event and get it live on camera for the world to see. And look what happened. Just saying. All right, so let's see here. I got one more. And this is not really an informer, but he's telling us what happened in his own words. And I've never seen this before. So this is from Parkland Memorial Hospital. This was written on an admission note. November 22nd, 1963 at 4:45 p.m. This is 3 hours after John F. Kennedy is pronounced dead. And this is a note from Dr. McClellan. Okay, a statement regarding assassination of President Kennedy. At approximately 12:45 p.m. of the above date, I was called from the second floor of the Parkland Hospital and went immediately to the emergency room where I President Kennedy being attended to by doctors Malcolm Perry and a couple other ones I can't read. The president was at the time comatose from a massive gunshot wound of the head with a wound of the trachea. And basically he goes on here to say that they did a tracheotomy, a tubal ligotomy, they were massaging his heart and da-da-da-da-da. But this is not the part that I'm that concerned of. The second page is what I was like, what? Second page, very short. Cause of death was due to massive head and brain injury from a gunshot wound of the left temple. He was pronounced dead after external cardiac massage and ECG activity was gone. Signed Robert McClellan, MD, Assistant Professor of Surgery, Southwestern Medical School of the Dallas, Texas. So he's saying that it was a giant, massive head and brain injury from a gunshot wound to the left temple. And this is Robert McClellan. He's on the scene. He's, I mean, damn. Now, what's interesting about that? Okay. Left temple, right temple. Now, we always think that the wound was the right temple. But of course, if you're looking at someone laying on the slab, the wound is on the left side of the body, although it's the body's right temple. So I wonder if he just got confused there with his left and his rights. You know what I'm saying? Sounds like it. But interesting that he denotes a wound to the temple as like an entrance wound. Exit wound, entrance wound, temple. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, James McClellan operated on me years later and saved my life. My claim to fame. Well, good. Hopefully he did it on the right side of your body and not the left side of your body. Apparently he got confused with his rights and lefts. So glad you're still here with us, sir. And that our body is somewhat symmetrical and has, 2 sets of ribs, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys. So even if you got the wrong one, you'll be all right. 2 hands, 2 eyes. So bravo. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, that's the crazy stuff, man. And I didn't even get to my camera stuff. So I guess we'll save that for another night. Oh well. It's all good. It's all good. I had more informers information than I thought I did. I just wanted to make sure I had enough to get through this thing by myself and not be like 45 minutes in. Okay, that's all I got, folks. Here we are 2 hours in, and I feel like we just started. But damn, that's crazy. Your image is reversed, funny enough, Rob. Yeah, I'm pointing at my right temple right now, but it looks like I'm pointing at my left temple, I guess. This is my right hand. Does it look like my left hand? I don't know. I wonder if I can fix that. That is kind of weird to me. Let me see if that's some weird thing. Mirror camera. Let's uncheck that and see what happens. Whoa. Okay. Wow. See? Now you can read my hat right. Well, maybe if the goddamn camera stopped moving around. Oh, you bastard camera, you. The Dallas Action Podcast. See that? See that fine hat there? That was lovely. Yeah. All right, that's wild. I've had this thing backwards the whole time for all this time, and I didn't even know it. Wow. Crazy. Sorry about that. You live and you learn, as Alanis Morissette always says. All right, folks. Let me yank you off here. And I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. In this limited hangout Friday night with me running Han Solo without Joseph. And let's go through a couple of these comments here and see if I missed anything on. Oh, shit. Well, there we go. Gary Peters, super chatted. Since you're flying solo tonight and for the perseverance. Well, much obliged, sir. Much obliged, Gary. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you, man. Matthew Bates. Hey, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I love doing this. I love hanging out with you guys. I hate it when I have to do it by myself. I feel like I'm neglecting you guys, and I don't get over here to the comments section enough. Yeah. Yeah. Surgery is no fun, Colleen. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Trey. That feels weird now. I'm raising my left hand up, and it's legit looking. Okay, wild. Let's see if I missed anything here. Doctors refer to left and right from their perspective, not the patient's. Well, that's a good thing to know, optoeconomist. So there you go. Interesting that from the doctor, 3 hours after he viewed Kennedy laying on the slab in front of him, this is what he's writing down. He was shot in the temple, folks. Pretty damning testimony. So we had a lot of people that talked here tonight, you know, from like the Larry Hancock book, someone would have talked. We had a lot of people that did talk. Thank you, Paula. I wish I could, but I don't really drink. I drink seltzer. I have a seltzer. It's mixed with nothing. It's just water. It's empty calories, if you will. That's my go-to. Thank you, Colleen. Very kind words. Very kind words. Thank you so much. James, thank you. Claude and Aunt Udine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So yeah, I guess that'll do it for tonight. And we'll be back. Actually, I'm recording Quick Hits tomorrow morning with Doug. So that'll be out this weekend. Look for that. If you haven't subscribed to Quick Hits, where you can listen to fine podcasts, go do that. Because you're missing a whole nother show. A whole nother 5 years of shows. 6 years of shows. Yeah. I do that with Doug, my buddy that does the Dallas Action. Maybe you've heard of it. Like on my hat. We do a killer show together. Like once a month. And we're recording that tomorrow. So it'll be out sometime this weekend. Don't know exactly when. But be looking for that. And then unless Joe has another hockey game on a Wednesday, me and Joe will be back with you next Wednesday night for the super secret Covert Operators and Above show for members only next Wednesday. I guess I could get into all this camera nonsense, or I might save it for a Friday in the future. Who knows? We'll see. We will see. But good night, Lee. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I can't wait to do Quick Hits. Yeah, and we have a party just like we do on Friday nights, on Wednesdays. Come join the fun. The link is in the description if you'd like to become a covert operator or a super spy. You have access to every Wednesday show every week, plus the entire backlog of Wednesday shows for the past 8 months. You know, we don't just mail it in on Wednesdays. We're legit. We do legit shows. But anyway, Big Joe Borelli, old Scars, will be back next Wednesday, next week, after his miniature vacation with him and his lovely GF, Erica. Hope they had a good vacation and time well deserved off. I've been, putting Joe to work hard for the past year and a half. We might miss a Friday here and there, but we try to supplement somehow, like, record it early or we do something. We try to do something. But yeah, so Joe will be back. We'll be back at full strength next week. Ruby will be back. Thanks, Randall. Appreciate it. You guys rock. Always a good time, fun time. And without further ado, let me call in Big Nasty Dean Andrews to get us up out of here. And no, I'm not picking this damn cat up again. I got a black shirt on. All hairy. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. We will see you next Sunday. Peace.
The greatest lies are told in the name of truth. The greatest crimes are committed in the name of justice. The quotation is Jim Garrison's. It could be used for him or against him in this strange case. Good night.
Oh. Well.